Hi, I'm Mark Donegan with the Marketing Execution Podcast. There's a growing belief that AI is what makes great LinkedIn content now, but that's missing the point. To clarify, AI doesn't make you a better storyteller. It just turns up the volume on whatever story you're already telling. In my experience, I've watched this play out over decades in tech marketing, where new tools arrive, excitement spikes, and the fundamentals still decide who stands out. Therefore, in this conversation, we talk about how to use AI as a force multiplier without losing the human voice that actually builds trust. To begin, here's how B2B marketers can get that balance right.
Tune in, listen up, it's marketing time. Bright ideas sparking, blowing your mind. From strategies to big exec dreams, catch the buzz and join the execution. Marketing Convo.
Welcome to the Marketing Execution Podcast. This is the show for tech founders and leaders building B2B products and technologies. We show you how to go further, faster to get the business results you need.
From strategies to big exec dreams, catch the buzz and join the execution. Marketing Convo.
Mark, you know how everyone's talking about AI writing tools, right? Well, I came across this breakdown of how one LinkedIn creator is actually using AI to write storytelling posts. And I don't know, it kind of blew my mind a little.
Okay, honestly, most of what I see about AI content is either total hype or complete dismissal. There's no nuance. What made this one different?
So this is a guy named Luke Matthews, and what struck me is he's not just throwing prompts at ChatGPT and hoping for the best. He's got this whole system, like a repeatable framework for getting AI to actually sound like him.
See, that's the piece most people miss. They think AI is this magic button you press and suddenly you've got viral content. But the founders who are actually winning with AI right now, they're treating it like a junior copywriter. You got to train it. You got to give it constraints.
Exactly. And that's what I want to dig into today, because I think there are like 2 or 3 really tactical things here that our listeners could steal immediately.
All right, let's break it down then. What's the first big insight?
Okay, so the first thing is how he structures his prompts. He doesn't just say, hey, write me a LinkedIn post. He actually feeds the AI 10 of his previous posts and says, analyze these, learn my style.
That's huge. That's absolutely huge. Because here's what most people don't understand about large language models. They're pattern recognition machines, right? So if you give them 10 examples of your voice, your cadence, your formatting quirks, the AI can actually start to mimic that. It's not perfect, but it gets you maybe 70% of the way there.
And then you're just editing, not writing from scratch.
Exactly. You're editing, which is a completely different cognitive load. I was just talking about this on the Marketing Execution Podcast a few weeks back. The founders who are scaling their content output right now, they're not spending 3 hours crafting one post. They're spending 30 minutes refining what AI drafted for them.
So the prompt he uses is pretty specific too. He tells the AI to be an expert ghostwriter specializing in LinkedIn and Twitter marketing with years of business experience.
I love that. You're giving it a persona. You're saying, don't be a generic AI, be this person with this expertise. It's like, when you hire a freelancer, you don't just say, write me something. You say, here's who we are. Here's our voice. Here's what we're going for.
Right. And then he does something really clever. He mixes influences. So he'll say, give me the thought leadership of one person, the formatting and copywriting skills of another, with a slight influence from a third.
Okay, now that is advanced. That's like blending ingredients. You're not just copying one style, you're creating something new by combining the best elements of multiple voices.
Have you seen founders do this well?
Yeah, actually. I once heard of a company that was struggling with their LinkedIn presence. Their CEO was brilliant, but just could not write to save his life. So they did exactly this. They took posts from 3 thought leaders in their space, fed them to Claude, and said, blend these styles, but make it sound like our founder's speaking voice. Within a month, their engagement tripled.
Okay, so that's the first piece. Train the AI on your style and blend influences. What's the second big insight here?
The second thing that jumped out to me is the formatting constraints. He's very specific about structure. Like, he tells the AI that sentence 1 has to be a bold statement, no more than 8 words. Sentence 2 has to start with how I and include a number.
Why does that matter so much?
Because LinkedIn is a scroll game. You've got maybe 1.5 seconds to stop someone's thumb. So that opening hook, it's everything. A bold 8-word statement creates curiosity. Then the how I with a number creates specificity. It signals, hey, this is a real story with real lessons.
It's like a pattern interrupt.
Exactly. And founders think good content is about being profound. But on social platforms, good content is about being readable. Short sentences, white space, rhythm changes. He specifically tells the AI to keep sentences short and concise, but switch up the formatting so it's enjoyable to read.
Okay, so we've got training on style and we've got formatting constraints. What's the third piece?
The third piece is what I'd call the layering technique. So he generates a post, right? But then he goes back and says, add this story into the post. Keep the integrity of the original, but make it longer by weaving in elements of this new story and lesson.
So he's iterating. He's not just accepting the first output.
Not even close. And this is where most people give up. They get a mediocre first draft from AI and they think, well, AI content is garbage. But the magic is in the iteration. You're collaborating with the AI. First draft gets the structure right. Second pass adds your personal story. Third pass tightens the language.
It's almost like pair programming, but for content.
That's a great analogy. You're the senior developer reviewing the junior's code. You're not rewriting everything, but you're catching the bugs, improving the logic, adding the nuance that only a human can add.
So for a founder listening right now who's thinking, okay, I want to try this tomorrow, what's the actual first step?
First step is dead simple. Go find 10 posts in your space that you love. Post-it made you stop scrolling. Screenshot them, throw them into a doc, and start analyzing. What's the hook structure? What's the sentence length? Where do they use white space? Then you've got your training data.
And you feed that to the AI before you ask it to write anything.
Before anything, context is everything. The more context you give, the better output you get. It's really that simple.
Mark, that's fascinating. Let's pivot for a second and talk about what this means for a founder who's already got a content team. Does this replace writers or does it change how they work?
Okay, that's the question I get asked more than almost anything else right now. And honestly, the answer is going to frustrate some people. It doesn't replace writers. It transforms what writers do. And that's a really important distinction.
How so?
So think about it this way. Before AI, a content writer's job was maybe 60% actual writing, 20% research, 20% editing. Now, the writing part gets compressed, but the thinking part, the strategy part, that becomes way more valuable.
So the skill shifts from production to curation.
Yes, that's exactly it. Your writers become editors and strategists. They're not staring at blank pages anymore. They're shaping raw material into something that actually sounds human.
I mean, that's kind of liberating when you think about it.
It is liberating. Look, I know founders who had writers spending 4 hours on a single LinkedIn post. 4 hours. Now those same writers can produce 3 or 4 drafts in that time and spend their energy on what actually matters. Which is what exactly? The story selection, the emotional hook, the thing that makes someone stop and go, oh wow, that's me. AI can mimic a structure all day long, but it can't tell you which story from your founder's journey is going to resonate with your audience.
So the human judgment piece becomes the bottleneck.
The bottleneck and the competitive advantage. Because here's what's happening right now. Everyone's getting access to the same AI tools. Everyone can generate content that's technically competent. But the founders who are winning, they're the ones whose teams know how to inject real insight into that content.
Okay, but let me push back a little bit. What about the founders who don't have a content team? The solo operator who's doing everything themselves?
Oh man, this is where it gets really interesting. Because for those founders, AI is basically like hiring your first content person without the salary. That's a big claim, but hear me out. If you're a solo founder and you've been avoiding LinkedIn because you hate writing, This changes everything. You're not starting from zero anymore. You're starting from 70% done.
And that 70% is good enough to edit.
If you've trained it right, absolutely. That's why the framework we talked about matters so much. The 10-post analysis, the persona setup, the formatting constraints. You do that work upfront once, and then every post after that is just refinement.
So it's an investment in infrastructure.
Exactly. You're building a content system, not just writing posts. And that's the mindset shift founders need to make. Stop thinking about AI as a shortcut. Start thinking about it as a foundation you build on.
I love that reframe because I think a lot of people feel guilty about using AI, like they're cheating somehow.
Oh, the guilt thing is so real. But here's what I tell people. Do you feel guilty about using spell check? Do you feel guilty about using Google Docs instead of a typewriter?
Fair point.
Tools evolve. The question is whether you're using them well. And using them well means keeping your voice, your stories, your perspective at the center. The AI handles the scaffolding, you provide the soul.
Okay, so we've covered why this matters for teams and for solo founders. But I'm curious now about the practical side. Like, what does the actual workflow look like when you sit down to create a post using this method?
Okay, so the workflow breaks down into 3 phases. I call them collect, train, and refine. Super simple once you see it in action. So phase 1, collect. You're going to find 10 posts from creators whose style you admire. Not random posts, posts that made you stop scrolling.
Wait, so you're basically building a swipe file first.
Exactly, but here's the key. You want posts that match your voice, not just posts that performed well. Big difference because viral doesn't mean authentic. A post with 50,000 likes might be totally wrong for your audience. So pick creators who sound like the version of you that you want to be online.
Okay, so I've got my 10 posts. What's next?
Phase 2 is train. This is where you give the AI its personality. You're going to paste those 10 posts into your prompt and say, analyze these. Tell me what patterns you see. And the AI picks up on formatting, sentence length, hooks, all of it. The rhythm, the structure, how they open, how they close. And then you add constraints. You tell it, no hashtags. Keep sentences under 8 words for the hook. Start with a bold statement.
So you're programming the guardrails up front.
Yes, and this is where most people mess up. They skipped a step and wonder why their AI content sounds generic. The constraints are everything.
Can you give me an example of a constraint that really works?
Sure, one that Luke Matthews uses is brilliant. He tells the AI to follow a specific opening format. Sentence 1 has to be a bold statement, 8 words max. Sentence 2 starts with how I and includes a number.
Oh, that's clever. It forces a hook and a story setup.
And it's repeatable. Every single post follows that pattern. Your audience starts to recognize your style. It becomes your signature.
Okay, so we've collected and trained. What's phase 3?
Refine. This is where you come back in. The AI gives you a draft, maybe 2 drafts, and now your job is to inject your real story. So the AI builds the skeleton and you add the meat, the specific moment, the emotion, the thing that happened to you that nobody else can claim.
That's where the soul comes in.
There's that word again. But yes, you take the AI draft and you ask yourself, where can I add a story that only I can tell? And that story doesn't have to be long. Sometimes it's 1 sentence. I remember sitting in my car after that meeting, wondering if I'd made a huge mistake. That's the human moment. The AI gave you the structure. You gave it the truth.
I love how practical this is. Collect, train, refine. Anyone can do this tonight.
Tonight, literally, find your 10 posts, paste them in, set your constraints, get a draft, edit in your story. You can have a post ready in 30 minutes.
And then you repeat the process.
Every time. And it gets faster because your training stays consistent. You're not starting over. You're building on what you already taught the AI.
Okay, Mark, this has been incredibly useful. Before we wrap up, can you pull everything together for us? Like, give us the big picture of what we covered today and how it all connects.
All right, we started with the foundation that AI is not a magic button. It's a tool you have to train. You feed it examples of your voice, you give it a persona, and you blend influences from creators you admire. That's how you get output that actually sounds like you.
And then the formatting piece.
Right. Constraints are everything. Short hooks, specific structures. You're programming guardrails so the AI produces something readable and scroll stopping. Then we talked about how this changes the game for teams and solo founders alike. Writers become editors, solo operators get a 70% head start, and the workflow is simple. Collect 10 posts you love, train the AI on your style, refine by adding your real stories.
Mark, after all of that, what's the one thing you really hope people don't forget?
The AI can give you structure, speed, and scale, but it cannot give you your story. That's the part only you can add. And honestly, that's the part that actually matters. So stop waiting for perfect. Start with 70% done and make it yours. The Marketing Execution Podcast is produced by Growth Stage Marketing. We are on a mission to see your company reach wild success using marketing pods.
Too big, accept dreams. Catch the buzz and join the execution. Marketing Convo.
Thank you for listening and being a part of the marketing execution movement and community. To learn how growth stage marketing clients reach more buyers and drive business impact, go to growthstage.marketing. That's growthstage.marketing.